Hello everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are going to unpack a massive global problem, the crisis of food waste. But more importantly, we're going to see how you hold the power to solve it right inside your own kitchen. We often think environmental solutions are completely out of our hands, isn't it? But the simple truth is, saving the planet actually begins with what we put on our plates and what we are throwing in our bins.
Here is our quick roadmap for today. First, the global waste crisis. Then we'll rethink your grocery shopping, followed by demystifying your refrigerator. After that, we'll look at habits at home and away, and finally, we'll wrap up with the food waste diary.
Okay, Section 1, the global waste crisis. Let us dive right into this macro problem. 931 million tons. Just let that number sink in for a second. Every single year, a massive 17% of all the food produced worldwide is getting wasted. Instead of feeding millions of people who are going hungry, perfectly edible food is just rotting away. The loss of energy, water, and the sheer human effort required to produce all this, it's simply immense.
Now just imagine this. If food waste were its own country, it would literally be the third biggest source of greenhouse gas emissions on the entire planet. It sits right behind China and the US. When all this food decomposes in landfills, it releases terribly harmful gases. So quite simply, wasting food is directly warming our globe.
But see, here is the real plot twist. We usually tend to point fingers at supermarkets or big farms for this waste, right? Actually, 61% of all this massive global waste comes directly from our own households. But hey, that's actually good news, because the problem is happening in our homes. The solution is firmly in our hands only.
Moving on to Section 2, rethink your grocery shopping. Since the majority of waste happens at home, the solution actually starts before we even step out of the house. By simply shopping smart, you can drastically cut down on overbuying. Do one thing. Before you leave for the market, just plan your weekly menus. Take a quick photo of the inside of your fridge on your phone so you don't end up buying what you already have. Also, please, never shop when you're hungry. Oh, and consider picking up some funny food. Those oddly shaped fruits and veggies? They taste exactly the same, and you're saving them from being tossed out.
Okay, let's clear up a major source of confusion right now. Best before just means peak quality. It strictly relates to freshness and taste. Your food is generally still perfectly safe to eat even after this date. On the other hand, use by is the strict safety deadline you really need to follow. Understanding just this one simple difference is going to stop you from throwing away perfectly good food.
Which brings us to Section 3, demystifying your refrigerator.
Now that we've brought the right food home, let's take a guided tour of your fridge. Many of us just shove items wherever there's empty space, isn't it? But learning how to use specific temperature zones is an absolute game changer. The very first thing you must do today itself is check your settings. Your fridge needs to be set to 4 degrees Celsius, which is 40 degrees Fahrenheit or even below. If it's any warmer, your food is going to spoil much faster. It's just a small turn of the dial, but it makes a huge difference.
When organizing, always work from top to bottom. The upper shelves are slightly warmer, so keep your leftovers and drinks there. The lower shelves, those are usually the coldest spot in the fridge, so strictly keep your raw meats and fish down there to prevent any dangerous juices from dripping onto your other food. And finally, reserve the door for items that don't spoil easily, like your condiments and butter.
Now, notice this rule here. Never keep milk or eggs in the fridge door. I know, this is a mistake almost all of us are making, right? Because the door is constantly opening and closing all day, it's actually the warmest spot in the whole refrigerator. So you should absolutely never store highly perishable items like milk or eggs there. Just keep them tucked away on a deeper, colder shelf inside.
And what about those crisper drawers at the bottom? Those little levers on the front actually serve a very vital purpose. Set one drawer to high humidity for your leafy greens that tend to wilt quickly. Then set the other drawer to low humidity to allow gases to escape. This prevents your fruits from breaking down and rotting prematurely. It's brilliant, really.
Let's move on to Section 4, habits at home and away.
So, we have our fridge completely sorted. But how do we handle things when we're cooking or eating out? First, we need to embrace this beautiful mantra: love your leftovers. Cooked food really shouldn't be sitting out at room temperature for long. Pop your leftovers into airtight containers and into the fridge, and they'll be perfectly good for up to 4 days. Better yet, why not designate one dinner each week as a creative use-it-up meal? It's fun and it saves so much waste.
Now, when dining out, just run through this simple mental checklist. First, ask the waiter about portion sizes before you even order. Second, check the ingredients so you don't end up ordering something you dislike and leaving it on the plate. Third, build a solid habit of packing your extras to take home. Very few people are doing this, but it's a fantastic habit to have. Or, simply share a larger meal with whoever you're dining with.
And listen, before you throw anything away at home, just pause and consider, can these scraps be put to use? Can you turn organic waste into rich compost for your indoor plants? Instead of tossing those broccoli stalks, maybe you can simmer them with some bones and herbs for a delicious homemade stock. And remember, you can freeze almost anything before its expiration date to just save it for later.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the Food Waste Diary.
To bring all these highly practical habits together and truly transform how your household runs, you need to actively track your progress. Awareness is everything, guys. Using a simple tracking tool like the Food Waste Diary is incredibly eye-opening. For just 1 week, literally note down exactly what you throw away, the amount, how it was disposed of, the specific reason it got wasted, and the cost.
After a week of tracking, sit down and review your diary. You'll immediately spot the patterns. Like, are you throwing away half a loaf of bread every Friday? When you actually calculate your financial loss for the week, it's often a huge shock. But once you recognize the reasons behind the waste, you can give proper thought to actionable changes, like maybe serving smaller portions next time, or simply freezing that half loaf of bread before it goes bad.
So the most crucial point is applying this valuable knowledge to your daily life. Small individual actions create a massive global impact when we're all doing them together. And that leaves us with one big, provocative question to ask ourselves tonight. Exactly how food waste-free are you? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you start your very own food waste diary tomorrow itself.